Welcome to New Realities. I'm Alan Steinfeld. This program is an exploration of consciousness. And of course, one of my major focuses is the UFO phenomena, whatever that may be to whoever's listening. It is still a mystery, but I have a very amazing guest, one of my favorite types of people, spiritual, into UFOs, intellectual, all that. Dr. Joanna
Kujawa, yes.
She's written a very amazing book, Alien Goddess, UFOs, AI, and the Goddess of Ascension. You know what I loved about this book is that you talk on a very high and intellectual level, and you're trying to understand this phenomena in terms of consciousness, mythology, evolution of awareness. But can we really understand the UFO phenomenon in terms of an old mythology? Or is there something utterly new that's being presented to us?
Wow, that's a really big question. And I wish I had the answer for this, but let's say I'm just exploring.
So I want to understand this idea of the divine feminine and this kind of bizarre happening of contacting the other. And I think you make a great attempt to kind of bridge the two. Can you bridge it for us in a way? Because the goddess myths or actualities, I think they are real beings, and the interface of this otherworldly phenomena seem to be related. And you make that connection, but how?
I was looking for a message that perhaps UFOs had for us. And just as a brief introduction, the first part of the book that I wrote was on artificial intelligence and my concerns about it. And then I thought, okay, I was basically told, almost like, intuitively, to look into UFOs. And I realized that if you look into certain narratives of UFOs, there's definitely a warning for us from the entities. So I started to explore two things. One is the connection with the feminine, which seemed to be always a feminine figure that comes and wants to warn humanity in a very positive way. It's non-threatening presence because there's so many narratives in the UFO community about, invasions and threat and superior technologically superior spaceships coming and over, to the planet and so on. So I wanted to look into this more feminine presence, which actually wants to help us, and which also, and another thing is, gives us a warning, but also usually occurs in what I call the liminal spaces.
Right.
The space which basically happen in our consciousness, because liminal space, it means really in between. So basically it means between before dawn or before we fall asleep or just before we wake up, when our consciousness is open enough, it is open enough so we can actually consider properly the unusual experiences, the anomalous experiences, and UFOs are now called anomalous experiences, unidentified anomalous experiences,
Right.
UAPs, right? So that we can consider them without the rational judgment.
Right.
So maybe this is like to start with, yeah.
No, I want to talk to you about liminal versus imaginal, but I first want to ask you about, well, let's see, how can I put it? This realm that we exist in as these physical embodiments and the myth of limitation of physicality, and we also have this vast consciousness. So we are to get into, I think, what you're talking about, we have to realize who we are as human beings, right? We're not these biological machines we have a body, but who we are is the real mystery that I think you're telling us what the goddess traditions and the UFOs are saying. We're more than that, right? Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yes, we are absolutely more on that. We are absolutely more on that. And especially esoteric traditions, but also myths of the goddess tell us that we are much more than that. But it seems that modern science limits us to this, it has to be measured. It has to be physical. Otherwise, it doesn't exist. And once I started to explore this other area, non-physical yet real, just it is worth of considering simply because we experience it. And I think that we experience it much more than we give ourselves credit for, because normally we just discredit this, like we have an experience and say, oh, it doesn't fit into, what I think about life in general. And once I listened to an interview with Chris Bledsoe's daughter, and she said, she also has all of these experiences like her father. And she says, and like, you have to go to school and pretend that nothing happened. And this is a little bit like we do the same, we have amazing experiences, and then we either do not share them with anyone else, or we do not even believe ourselves, or if we share them, we are being ridiculed, right?
Right.
Because they do not fit into this rigid paradigm of what is considered, well, scientific. When
Mhm.
I think it is a problem with our science that it just considers physical and measurable things scientific. And we have all of these wonderful sources, ancient mythologies and esoteric sources, that I don't know if you want me to discuss them right away, but actually tells us a very different story.
Yeah, no, I want to discuss all that, but first we're talking to a wide variety of listeners, perhaps. I mean, most of them are tuned into the phenomenon because they're following my channel. But
Mm.
who are we really then? What in your analysis? I mean, first we have to get over the programming, the conditioning that we're the body,
Yes.
and then we're on this journey to discover what consciousness is. One of my favorite quotes from John Mack, because I knew him, I would go out to dinner.
Mm.
I know what a fantastic, yes,
So jealous.
he was a very special, brilliant. He would not suffer fools, so he was very brilliant. But one of my favorite quotes from John Mack is that UFOs are like an outreach program from the cosmos for the consciously impaired. That's us, the consciously impaired. So what I think they're doing, and yes, it seems to be a positive force, but there are also these negative traumatic aspect. First of all, how do you integrate? Because I'm looking to integrate the trauma of abductions and the maybe the addictions and all these things that follow that experience with like it being a positive thing. How do you make that?
Yeah, that's a very difficult question. So we can go in different directions here. So first of all, I believe that we are primarily a consciousness that is embodied. And the reason why I was talking about science before, it is because they talk about it from a different point of view. So they talk about it like for even evolution, they talk about it that there was a body and then a consciousness evolved. But esoteric traditions and mythology say it was the opposite. There was a consciousness and the consciousness descended.
Yeah.
So all the myths, all philosophies before science took over in the 18th century was talking about consciousness descending from the cosmos. And we are just embodied consciousness. And I think this is so holy. This is so beautiful.
Mhm.
We are these amazing beings that are connected to the universe. We are
Yeah.
connected to the universe.
Yes.
So this is what we are. And the reason why we are maybe impaired because we lost, and this is what these esoteric sources talk about, we lost our ability or even our memory of our true selves. So
Mhm.
this is perhaps the main premise in Alien Goddess about who we are.
Yes.
So it is within us, the divine spark, or however you want to call it, the expanded consciousness that is completely universal is within us. But we either do not remember this or we are brainwashed not to remembering this, and we forgot. And
I
we have
agree.
to remember this. And we
So
have to remember this.
yeah, that's a prelude to the fact that, okay, if we're this expanded consciousness and everything that happens to us is somehow for our evolution. Is that what you're saying here?
Yes.
Okay. So,
To
like,
a degree,
yeah,
to a degree.
okay.
But there are other forces. So when we speak, so I don't want to sound like very extremely positive and that I don't see the shadow of this. Because of course there were people who had very negative experiences of abduction. It can relate also to fear, which is normal, and we can discuss it as well. But I think I come from a Gnostic point of view. Gnostic, it means basically Gnosticism believes that there is a struggle, ongoing struggle between good and evil. It's an
Right.
ongoing struggle between good and evil. And I believe that in the universe, in cosmos, we have both powers. So if we spoke about aliens or entities, they're both good and bad entities.
Mhm.
But the premise of my book is that it depends in which state of consciousness we are at the moment. Our experience of these entities will be either negative or positive. So it's getting a little bit complex at the
No,
end,
no,
right?
I get it. But if you believe there's good and evil, then you are not saying everything that happens to us is for evolution, because then there's this black and white sort of forces. But maybe, the shadow shows the light and all that. So maybe we can't call it good and evil. We can call it ignorant and evolution or something. What do you mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's why I eventually arrived at the concept of ignorance. But I don't like to call it good and evil. I say perhaps it's better to call it light and shadow. Because I am also, writing in the book about Carl Jung, the Swiss psychoanalyst, who is always talking about we have to integrate our shadow.
Right.
We
Right.
have to bring it to the light. The shadow is something that we just did not process. And that's why we consider it evil. It's the otherness, like also aliens, which I believe they are part of us on a conscious level.
Right.
So I think that it's not evil and good, the way Gnostics say, but more like light and shadow has to be integrated.
But on the other level, we'll go to all these different levels, right? There's
Okay.
an archonic takeover of humans' minds, and they feed. I've done a bunch of shows about this, how these beings, I think, that feed on our obsessions, our addictions, they're actually feeding, like Steiner meant. You mentioned Steiner in the book.
Mm.
There are these beings that probably do exist, and they feed off of like all this negativity and war and awful
Mm.
things, because that's how they gain energy. So yeah, there's maybe no good and evil, but so I'm asking you because I'm trying to integrate this too.
Mm, mm, mm,
I mean,
mm.
so maybe you can help. you know yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I completely agree. That's why, however, it is a little bit, it's simple and complex because we are not used to this kind of thinking. So I think that there are two things. One, we have to work on ourselves because we have a shadow within us as well, because all of these creations that are not very positive, even on this planet, come from human beings, right? Including what I believe, I don't know if you want to cover it, artificial intelligence and where it's going.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and there are also external sources that are not evolved, that are dark sources. So in Alien Goddess, I go back later to the Gospel of Mary Magdalene when she gives the ways of transcending it. So basically, if we are at the lowest level of consciousness, which is I am just this material body, and I will die and that's it, right?
Right.
Then on this level of consciousness, or when we are depressed, we are most likely being contacted by the entities that feed on our fear, on our depression, on our confusion, because they need it. They love this chaos.
I totally agree with you on that. Yes. So
But if we work on ourselves, and work on our consciousness, the entities that we encounter become more and more evolved. And then we have a contact with the entities that actually want to help us, who remind us of who we truly are. So, in a way, it empowers us because if we can lift ourselves up,
right.
we meet different entities.
Right. I totally agree. And that's the challenge of the human drama, to be pulled down by the thing, the awfulness, or to always find the light to lift ourselves up. So that, yeah, I think that covers it, because there's most people are so unaware they are reactive. They're not the observer of their consciousness, but they are indulging in it, which is fine if that's what they want to do. And I'm around people, my family particularly, who do that kind of.
I think most people that we know. I think Ram Dass once said, "If you think you're enlightened, spend the week with your family."
Yes, exactly. That is one of my favorite Ram Dass sayings. Yeah, because they do challenge you. But let's. But I think that's a sort of parallel to this idea of first the goddess. What I think, and no one seems to agree with me, but you is that the goddess essence is not just really an archetype, but is the being itself, like the divine feminine it takes over women in a sense when they're giving birth. There's like a force of this divinity that comes through, and so people think they're embodying the goddess, but no, the goddess is embodying them. So it's like a tree, the goddess, the divine feminine, whatever you want to call it, is this trunk, and we're like a little branch off that. And we think we're the whole thing when women say, "Oh, yeah, they're the goddess," but the goddess is them. Does that make sense? That's sort of
Absolutely. And I love how I love the metaphor, because actually the goddess in many esoteric traditions is called also Shakti, which is the life force, which is the élan vital. And it is within you. And actually it is both in women and men, but don't be jealous. I think it is easier for women to embody
it
this, right?
is. It is.
And so just to think, so for example, my previous book, Ave Goddess, talks about tantric traditions. And I was always wondering when I was researching it, and I had a huge experience of Kundalini movement through an erotic act, why, the tantric methods always talk about what men should do, right? And then I found a source in which it says a woman embodies it. So
Right.
she has it. So she kind of gives it to a man under right conditions. So
Right.
this goddess principle, this goddess energy is actually part of our consciousness. That's another premise of this book. And
Mhm.
this consciousness exists both for women and men. It is, I think, more natural for women because it's kind of called feminine intuition, but it could be called intuition. In philosophy, it is called intellection or the buddhi in Hinduism. But basically, I argue that this is a very important part of our consciousness that somehow through last few millennia it was suppressed, and we live completely in the more masculine consciousness, which now is completely obsessed with technology, and we are losing contact with life, with nature, and with our own spirit.
Right. I agree with you, but I do want to mention maybe this divine feminine force is not a part of our consciousness, but we are part of that consciousness. And like
Yeah.
Thea was lost in the underworld, like the Pistol Sophia says, for a long time, and now we're rediscovering. But it's like we need to reach there. It's more than a part of us. It is us, but we've been fragmented. The part we think is us is just this limited, very fragmented piece that's been disconnected.
I completely agree with you again. So I'm just trying to be optimistic that it is within us already, but it's bigger than us. I
Yeah.
completely agree. So
And
we have access to it.
it's really
It's
us.
Yeah,
It,
and it is really us, yes. So it is out there, but it's also here in a drop. So it's like a drop in an ocean. So we have a drop, but the ocean, which actually we are, is out there. And it is this sweet, feminine in a form, not even a gender, but just like a feminine energy that is very healing, that is very holistic. And I think that we are desperate for it nowadays, right? Because I do personally believe that we are going in the wrong direction. And even all studies in UFOs are going like, technology, anti-gravity. But what about all of these experiences that we have, both positive and negative, which happen in our consciousness?
well, that's why you're making the bridge. Like, actually, did you hear Jacob Barber's interview where he talks about, you know who he is? He's one of the whistleblowers Ross Coulthard interviewed. And he talks about he's picking up this UFO that's been found and he's picking up this craft with his helicopter, and suddenly he's overwhelmed with this feeling of feminine and joy and bliss. And he actually starts crying on camera on national television. I'm going to show that to you because he says this is feminine, this is holy, this is sacred.
I
And
love it.
I know it's so interesting because it's exactly what you're saying here in this book. But let's make that bridge that I think you make in, in 200 pages of where there is this phenomena, the UFO phenomenon, whatever that may be, and there are beings, I'm sure, that are coming from other planes, other planets, and are they all the embodiment of this divine grace, or do you feel some of them have their own agendas? I mean, it's such a complex subject, the UFO phenomena, and how do we connect it to this grand unification of the goddess? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I really believe that, okay, so I believe that this beautiful feminine consciousness, it's a positive, right? So it is, and I am so happy to hear, I didn't hear this interview, that actually somebody experienced it with, when recovering a spaceship. So it's wonderful. So it's not only consciousness, right? But you can also physically encounter this. But I also believe that there are some agendas. So I think that uh, a little bit like, as I said before, it really depends where you reach out. There's always in the mythology, there are the sources, that are either below or above. So we have to also reach out to the lower levels of our consciousness and heal them, because these entities come from that level of consciousness. So there are some lower entities, let's put it this way. There are some lower entities as well. However, I believe, and there's lots of evidence in esoteric studies and also in Carl Jung, that if we work on ourselves, these other entities evolved with us. That human beings have a very specific place in the cosmos. If you work on yourself, if I work on myself, and I lift my consciousness up, all the universe evolves with us. So there are these esoteric philosophies that are very positive, and then the lower entities will evolve as well, but they don't want to. So in the esoteric sources, they say they don't want to evolve. That's the problem.
But this is a complex phenomenon. There's not just one type of being that is coming here. There's many levels of interaction. So we have to, or do we just lump it all together, classify it all together? It's like, oh, they're all, I don't know. I'm asking, I don't know what.
Yeah. So I think they're both good and bad. There's that, actually are more evolved and want us to evolve more. They want contact us so we can evolve. But there are others that are attached to chaos and they want us to stay in a low level of consciousness because they feed of our fear, they feed of our depression, and they feed of our confusion. So I think that there are these kind of opposing forces which show up as different entities that contact us, because I think it would be naive to say that all of them are good. And I think it is a little bit dangerous also to say they're all here, just because they want to destroy us and destroy the planet and, make slaves out of us, right? I think there are definitely two, yeah.
But it's a very complex phenomena, and it's not black and white. But actually, I found the clip. I'm going to show you this guy, Jacob Barber. It's just a 3-minute clip, and I don't know why I'm showing this, but it just fits everything you're saying. So here it goes.
This is one of the most profound experiences I've ever had in my life. I'm about to share with you, so bear with me. So as I get closer to this pick site, I start feeling odd. I start feeling extremely emotional. And the closer I get, the more the emotion starts to overwhelm me. I feel this intense hybrid of sadness and happiness and beauty and song. And it was very disruptive to me because I had a very practical responsibility at the time to operate a helicopter in the mountains at night. And I began wondering what was wrong with me. It was late. Am I distressed? Am I tired? I don't know. But as I came over this object for the pick, there was this overwhelming sense of emotion. I felt like something connected with me. I felt like something had tuned in to me and my soul and was providing me some sense of guidance on what to do and how profound what I was doing was. And it was so overwhelming that I began to cry. And then I'm confused as to why I'm crying at the same time. And then do I abort the mission? So I just did my best to focus on my particular cues when doing this type of work. And I got the load hooked up and I began flying away. And once it was just me and that object in between the pick and the drop site, there's about 20 miles in between, I felt like something was inside of me. I felt like I was possessed by the most beautiful spirit I'd ever been possessed by. And
was it loving?
It was loving. But there was a sense of sadness at the same time. And no, it was a very feminine energy, I'll tell you that. It felt like the spirit of God, but not in any masculine sense. And it wasn't like a soul, it was like a frequency that I was connected with. And whatever that force was since that night, it has stayed with me. And as crazy as this sounds, it's what's guiding me now. And it's what's providing protection for me.
It's changed your life.
It's changed my life.
Wow, huh?
I love it. And for me, it also, what he describes is really a spiritual awakening. So anybody who had a spiritual awakening knows that this is pretty much how it is. So when I had my spiritual awakening, when I went for a initiation, this is what exactly was. First, immense sadness, then immense joy and bliss. And you feel like something is moving through your body, right? And for me, because I come from this tradition, for me, I interpreted this as feminine energy, as Shakti or Kundalini, right? So this is what Kundalini awakening is. So, but so for me, he just had an immense spiritual experience when encountering this entity, which is fantastic. And it very much reminds me of other stories when people have visions of a divine feminine kind of in the sky in the form of an orb, or I think the most famous one in 1916 and 1917 in Fatima in Portugal, when 3 children actually saw what they called like White Lady, which later was interpreted as Virgin Mary, but it is just, the Catholic framework for this, right? It's actually... we don't know what it was. It's just very Catholic, so they interpret it this way. And it was exactly this. They saw this almost like an orb, but kind of in a feminine shape with long hair and hands stretched out, sending this loving, blissful energy to them.
Yeah. So I agree. So is it what you're saying, the awakening of the divine goddess directly related to our awakening to the cosmos at large, in a sense?
I think so, because at least, as I said, I base everything on my studies of esoteric traditions and in my experiences. So they taught me that the moment we also are ready to evolve, the universe evolves with us as well, right? And when you are ready, the universe responds. So it's kind of like a loop. Right? It's a loop, the more you evolve, the more the universe evolves. And when you're ready to evolve, the universe helps you. So that's why, I thought that especially when I was reading some esoteric sources, when they give you levels of consciousness, they say that at the highest level, actually the grace or whatever it is, the energy descends upon you. So it pulls you up. It pulls you up, right? And it can be a surprise, it can be a shock. So sometimes it's shock, and it was a shock for me. And I thought like, hey, I want to finish my PhD. I have plans, But the energy, the bliss has different plans for you and transforms your life. So I'm so happy that I actually had such an obvious experience, spiritual experience with reference to, UFO.
Right. With the UFO, you had that experience with a...
No, he had it. He had it,
Oh,
like
he
you
had it
showed
with
me.
a UFO.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
had it through initiation. Yeah,
An-
I
a-
had it through initiation.
Initiate. What was the initiation? What was the
It was an initiation to an esoteric Hindu tradition,
which one?
and which is awakening basically of a Shakti in your body. And I just went out of curiosity, and I had a huge experience in a room full of people. you know.
Which tradition? Which Hindu tradition is it?
So Shaivites tradition. So
Hmm.
it's Kashmir Shaivism, which is quite interesting because they're supposed to be, focusing on actually consciousness. Shiva represents consciousness, but I had this huge experience of a divine feminine and started to move through me in a form of bliss and consciousness.
Was there a particular teacher, guru involved with that? Or
Yeah, there was, but these things are controversial. I can discuss
you
it.
can tell me. I don't care. I
It
mean,
comes from the tradition of Muktananda.
who was that?
He was a kind of in 1980s, especially he was very famous Hindu teacher that went to America as well, and so
I know
on.
who
And
Muktananda is, but who's the person, if you want to share, who initiated you? Who was that?
I would rather not say
Okay,
because
that's fine.
there are all kinds of things going on around it
Okay,
now.
okay,
Okay.
okay. That's fine. I know there was a lot of stuff after Muktananda left
Yeah.
and all that.
Yeah.
But no, let's get back to the alien goddess stuff, because do we need, because these initiations, these divine connections been going on forever, especially in India, but also lots of other places. Isis
Yes.
used to appear to the
That's right.
pharaohs, and white buffalo calf woman to the Native Americans. Or, I was in Mexico City and I saw that picture of the Virgin of Guadalupe that appeared on this cloth. It's not painted. And that is actually a fantastic place if you want to feel the Shakti and energy. All these places of the appearance of the divine feminine, Fatima and Lourdes. And there's actually a place in New York City. Have you ever been to New York City?
Yes, yes.
Okay. There's a place in the Bronx where the Virgin, or whatever you want to call this divine feminine, appeared to this young boy, and it became a holy site. So anyway, this has been going on for a long time. So why do we need these ETs? I'm trying to integrate it into like the UFO alien aspect. Do we need that, or are we possibly going to a next level of experience where somehow a bigger framework of what experience is, and you explain experience very well in this book, where experience is potentialized for human consciousness? That's what I think you're getting to, right?
Yes. So, okay. So again, it is a very complex question. I love our conversation. So, so in Alien Goddess, I kind of argue that once we open a field of perception, right? Then these things happen to us with contact with other entities, which are actually perhaps us, or maybe us from the future, us from another dimension. As we said before this, we started even recording. It's a very complex thing. However, depending on, what we believe in, for some people, they experience it as UFO, and other people experience it as a spiritual experience. So it's more about how we frame it rather than what it really is. So something is connecting with us. This something has this beautiful feminine energy. It is also within us, but it's much bigger than us. It can enter us to magnify its presence within us. And whether we call it UFO or a goddess or consciousness, it really depends on our framework. So for example, Diana Pasuka, in her book, I quote her there, she gives a fantastic example where two people in a room, a husband and a wife. He is like a scientist and she is a Catholic, right? And they are praying to heal their dog. And suddenly this white orb shows up in their living room and the dog is being healed. He thinks it was a metallic UFO and she thinks it was an angel.
I know
But
that guy.
something
I
happened.
know that guy,
Yeah,
Ray Hernandez, who talks about that.
yeah, yeah.
And he went down a huge rabbit hole going after the UFO stuff. And yes, the dog was healed. And
Yeah.
but that's my question. But I mean, because I think those angelic forces have been with us for millenniums. And something I'm trying to understand, is there something new happening to the human experience with this infusion of making contact. It seems to me that that's just my thesis. Maybe we
Yes.
need, like Jung says, a new reminder of the mysterious, or there's a new experience, a new level of vibration that going to expand consciousness that hasn't existed for the human race before. This is my question to you.
Okay. So you just want my answer, my opinion, yeah, on that?
Well,
Yeah.
of course, I want your opinion.
Okay.
What else? What else?
So my opinion, of course, is just an opinion, right?
Okay,
My
no,
opinion is that this, I agree with you, these beings were with us for all of this time. But now I think we are moving so, maybe, in my opinion, dangerously towards technology only, that these beings are interpreted in terms of technology, when in fact they are much more than technology.
right.
You understand what I mean? So
Yeah,
I
yeah, I
don't
do.
necessarily think that we evolve more, although perhaps we did, but rather that anything that happens to us is measured in terms of technology. When people before saw an orb and they said, this is an angel, right?
Mm,
So it's quite interesting that both, whether it's UFO or angel, they say, do not be afraid, the first thing on an encounter.
right.
So I would say that they were always there. We just interpreted technologically at the moment. That would be my take.
All right. So you're basically saying this is a new manifestation, like Jung, very Jungian. This is a new
Mm, mm.
manifestation of the mysterious, of the numinous. And because we're so off base here, we need this. But there is something physical, and maybe it's been throughout the angelic realm, about abductions, about taking genetics
Yes.
and making hybrids. And so that seems to be a little different than just angelic appearances. This is what I'm trying to understand,
Mm,
isn't it?
mm, mm.
Or because why are they making hybrid? I mean, they obviously are doing something
Yeah.
with genetics.
Yes. So, first of all, there is a new research that shows that these angelic appearances maybe were not so innocent.
Right.
So, for example, of Teresa of Avila, apparently she said that were like piercing light through her body, and it was actually very painful, which now you'd probably explain as lasers, right? So it
Right.
wasn't like all light and delight. Some of his experiences were very powerful. The same with Saint Francis, when he had this angelic experiences, he had almost he had very strong physical response to this as well, that some people say it's almost like after being exposed to some nuclear weapon or something. So even if we go into the past, these experiences were not always so
Mm,
innocent, let's put it this way,
right.
right?
Right.
And another answer to this could be that if we have contact with both negative and positive entities, the more negative entities may perhaps want to use us for something, right? So,
Right. I think use us for something, or maybe it's part of our evolution too, our genetics
mm,
evolution, these hybrid species. Maybe it's for us. I mean, I think my sperm may have been taken, my cells were probably taken because I was
mm.
handed, it's in my book, I was handed this little being to
Oh,
hold.
wow.
Yeah, with big eyes in a dream state. I don't have like a
Yeah.
wait in a liminal state in a way that I was handed this being. So I think there's another level that's impossible to understand because we don't
Mm,
talk about cognition here because and I underlined it somewhere in the book. I've just read it really, where we don't have the experience and we don't have, but we're open, but we don't have the cognitive abilities to
mm.
comprehend this next level. But your book, what we're all doing here is trying to make an effort to expand cognition, right? Perception.
Yes. But you nail it again, because, for example, with some people, including myself, and as you say yourself, it's kind of supposed lucid dreaming, right? Which is
Yeah.
actually an encounter. Experience downloads like I did, where I have two beings of light, and all I got, it is important, but it was just too much. I couldn't process it.
Well, what
Like,
did you
so,
get? Tell people what you got on those, like, because if they haven't read the book, tell them.
okay. So I'm in my bed at night, and suddenly behind me, which I don't know how I could see it, because I see it behind two elongated beings of light, just vaguely humanoid, but very elongated, very tall. And they pass into my mind something that it wasn't even telepathic, it was information and in the form of symbols, which was like semi-hieroglyphic numbers and, mathematical slash hieroglyphics. And all I could get from this is important. This is important. You have to understand. But I really didn't understand the details of the message. Only that my life changed after that.
Mm.
My life took in a completely different direction. I started to do crazy things like this, right? But
Did you record those symbols? Did you write them down?
no, but I had them. I remember them. And then this person who lives in Australia who does regressions that you just mentioned before the show, she was on the same show with me once and she showed what other people showed her, and it was exactly the same.
Mary Rodwell, you're saying.
Yeah, sorry, yes, Mary Rodwell. And she says, and some people have, these transmissions. And the guy who interviewed her says, she's saying, can you check? She allowed me to show it. Can you check if you had the same transmission? I said, it's exactly that.
Wow, that you didn't put that part in your book though.
No, because this happened after my book. So
Oh,
in my book, I just described these two beings. They passed these hieroglyphic slash mathematical symbols into my head that I couldn't understand. And once the book was already in production, Mary Rodwell said, oh, other people have it. Does it look like that? And I said, it looks exactly like that. So there is a physical evidence, so to speak,
you should
but
talk
we don't
to
know how to
Mary.
read it.
She doesn't live far, she lives a couple hours north of you, but she's
Yeah.
a great person. I'll put you in touch with her. If you have you met her formally?
No, just we're on the same podcast, but that's it. Yeah.
She's a fantastic, open-minded human being. But I also want to talk. I think after you say that experience in your book, you talk about Professor Robert Epstein, and
Yeah.
your brain is not a computer. And then you say what's significant about this Epstein theory is that he's convinced we can learn to simulate anomalous events and therefore communicate more directly with the entities we encounter. But I don't think you talk about how we can simulate the anomalous events. How to...
So he's talking because he's a neuroscientist. So he's saying that he's working on the parts of the brain. So we are not just receivers, but we are, he says, transducers. So we can actually communicate. My communication, when I experience, well, this is the definition for me of imaginal, when we have a two-way communication in a liminal space, it is I basically reached out in my consciousness, and I was given a vision, which later came true in my life. Like when I asked about my mission, about my role in life, and it was quite interesting. So I just basically mentally reached out when I was in a meditative space and I received it.
So
So
that's what you mean, like learning
yeah,
to simulate anomalous events and then working with
that's
those
right.
in imaginal states to
That's right. So I actually asked, okay, I need guidance, so to speak. I need to know. And I got an answer, but it was quite interesting because I actually did find myself almost like in a cocoon, suspended in space, somewhere in the universe. And I was not open to this then because I was very young and I was not even close to research that I'm doing right now. And then I was showing in a series of images what's going to happen and what I have to do. So, but I initiated it, let's put it this way.
and you just did that intuitively, but how did you know? You just did it. I mean, how did you
It was,
know?
I'm a very intense person. So I just felt like I need to know. And I wasn't even a meditator then, but I suddenly had this kind of space, mental space that I said, I need to know. And I reached out wherever, you know,
Mm,
uh,
mm.
you
And you
see,
just
and it's,
yeah.
yeah, and it was not a religious thing. I wasn't a meditator then, but I just reached out and it was just this desire to know,
Mm.
basically. I need to know my mission. Need to know what I'm doing here.
Yeah, I want to hear what your mission is, but I do have to say this is a fantastic book. There's so much to it. I think it needs a bigger audience because you pulled together so many pieces. Is that part of your mission? What is your mission?
Yes, I think so, because the mission, the doors open all the time, right? So it means like, but basically that was in the mission, it was, I was being shown basically doing research. all the time, like in some huge cosmic library. So I realized, okay, so wisdom traditions. And that's why at the end, if we have time, at the end of the Alien Goddess, I talk about these ancient traditions. And some of them, like Pistis Sophia, the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, or Inanna, or Elysian Mysteries, which are fantastic, they actually described the descent of human consciousness and then how can we ascend. And our consciousness is represented in terms of a goddess.
Right.
You know?
The Demeter mysteries, the hymn of Demeter. But have you ever talked to Reverend Moody? He's a scholar on ancient Greek oracles. And you know who I mean?
No, I didn't. No.
He coined the term near-death experience, but he studied a lot of the ancient Greek work. So let's talk about the Eleusinian mysteries a little bit, because that is still unknown. Did they drink hallucinogenics? Did they take psychedelic? Was an altered? There was a technology of sorts, if you want to call it, of the mind to give people true experience of these other realms. What do you think was happening with the Eleusinian mysteries?
So it's quite interesting, because if you go to like scholarly sources, they don't know. It says, oh, there was a procession when they went to the altar and then something happened. So they have no idea, right? But when I was studying it, it seems, and it's quite interesting, I'm quite convinced now that Demeter, goddess Demeter, actually came down on earth. And she actually, so I never thought that I would say it in my sane state, but I actually am quite convinced, because she descended and she went to first Crete. It was pre-Greek. It was still pre-Greek, and went then to Eurystheus when Greeks invaded Crete, and started with mysteries that she said that basically expand our consciousness. And she said, you realize that there is no death, right? Which is a little bit similar to Isis mysteries or Mary Magdalene mysteries and so on. And it took 3 days, so it's quite interesting. It always takes 3 days, right? So obviously they went through something there. However, in my book, I'm kind of warning when people ask about technologies around it, because rituals are also technologies. So she introduced them to some rituals, and it really doesn't matter what they are. It could be, it could be hallucinogenics, it could be fasting, it could be meditation, right? Which expand your consciousness. And I think this is exactly, what happened there. And however, what happens is not only expansion of consciousness, but also you get in contact with this feminine energy, right? So this is what happens, that it actually descends upon you. So you just have to do some preparation.
Initiation. It's initiation when
it is initiation. So you invite the energy to enter you, basically. Right. So this is what happened, and it's quite interesting, because everybody who was anyone in the ancient world went through this initiation, but was not allowed to speak about it. He just was told, function as nothing happened, right?
Right.
But they knew, but they're completely transformed. So that's why when talking about initiation, it's a little bit complex, because you just do certain rituals. And it's not sometimes even important what rituals they are, as long as you get the download of this energy.
Right.
So this is it. And that's the energy that counts.
I think you're right. And sometimes if you do the rituals, the energy doesn't come because you haven't shifted your consciousness. So people just think it's a kind of dogmatic thing. And other people like you have this incredible awakening.
Yeah.
There was a tradition I heard, I was in Spain, and there's this, the Catalanes have this secret tradition, because they combined with the Kabbalists in the time, and they would do these chanting for 3 days, and then the lady with the cup would appear, the divine. It's a tradition of the elders in Gerona, and Umberto Eco wrote a book about the secret society. Foucault's Pendulum, if that's a book that all these secrets of doing this manifestation of the lady with the cup appearing, the chalice, So she would actually appear, supposedly. Yes.
No, I totally believe that she did. So all of the simple techniques like chanting, so these people who perform rituals, they basically hold the space for everybody else, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's an invitation, but it's kind of a fickle thing, this feminine energy. Some people get it, some people don't get it. That's why when you go to initiation, some people are very disappointed. They said, nothing happened to me. These people must have pretended.
Right.
And I feel for them because, sometimes nothing happens, or maybe it is very subtle and they didn't realize. It doesn't have to be dramatic, like, maybe I'm a dramatic person, so it's happened in a dramatic way for me. For some people, it can be more subtle, right? But basically, it is about rituals are about holding an invitation for this energy. And there are some people like priests, priestesses, or initiators of all
Mm-hmm.
kinds of sorts that hold this energy, and they know how to call upon this energy, and it comes.
Well, I
That's
think when you're saying that, I realized I had an initiation when I saw this woman channel this ancient ascended being, and that transformed my reality. I went into this liminal space, and I knew I was greater than my body, and it was that was an initiation. I never looked at it that way. I thought that was a special moment, but yeah, whatever you're whatever it is, it's
yes,
an awakening into the divine, into the essence of divine. And maybe what you're saying is what UFOs hold for some people, like this clip I showed, is his way of awakening to his own divinity, right?
absolutely. That was a beautiful spiritual awakening, and I'm just so gratified that it happened with the contact with a UFO.
Mm.
So and it's kind of confirmation that it's really about liminal spaces, and but also about openness of our consciousness. Liminal space is also a mental space, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
something happened, or perhaps the presence was so strong that although he was ready or not ready, he got it anyway. It happens to some people.
Well, I think you have to be ready. I mean, I think it doesn't happen if you're not ready. Maybe not consciously ready, right? But on some level, your divine essence was ready for that initiation in that Hindu Shivite ceremony. So it's like,
Correct. Yeah.
so maybe, I'm looking at the crescent moon out there in the sky. A symbol of the goddess.
Which is a goddess symbol, yes.
It is. But I'm looking, it's right here as I'm talking. But maybe the UFO phenomenon in general is a planetary initiation. And because it's happening, there's more sightings than ever, more people are talking about it than ever. There's a interdimensionality that even Representative Luna mentioned on Joe Rogan and other places. So I think we're ready for a planetary initiation that is coming on. This is what
Absolutely.
I was hanging out with.
Absolutely.
Go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Planetary initiation, you said?
I was interrupting you too, but I was going to say I was hanging out with Chris Palazzo recently. Have you met him?
No, not yet. No.
He is a fantastic human being. He is like the closest thing to a UFO saint because he's so humble and gracious and loving, and he calls these ships in. But I had this angelic experience in that company, I felt this like voice, and so he's very much on this track of saying, yeah, it's all love, it's all the divine feminine, it's all of, so yeah, I think you would love to meet him if you could.
Because he's somehow open to it, and it somehow his energy loves him. I mean, people like yourself have experiences around him, so he's almost like a channel for this, which is really wonderful. Which is I really it's wonderful, and it is, and he's the one that says it happens in weird places, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
If in liminal spaces.
Yeah, no, and he of course drew that picture of the lady that he calls it. And, but I mean, actually, he's going to be at a conference I'm speaking at in March, which is the Ascension. Come, if you want.
Fantastic. Yes, in March, right? Yes.
You come to the
I'm considering. I'm considering going to some UFO conferences, but I still have to do my research where and what, and
well,
because I'm new
Contact
to
in the Desert is the biggest one. Have you? I could talk to. Do you know the people there? I'll talk to them and tell them about your book. Because
Okay, that would be fantastic. Thank you, because I have, I'm really new. I'm like a newborn babe into into the area, right? So as I said, come in peace and in full innocence. I just have some thoughts, and I think that somehow, and I'm so glad you're doing it, and Chris Bledsoe is doing it, and some other people are doing this, because this feminine element is really missing in the UFO studies,
Mhm.
and that it is somehow connected to consciousness and the evolution of humanity, but evolution of the whole planet as well. And I
Mhm.
think that it is the time, if I can, I know I sound like a preacher now, not
Okay.
intentionally, because I do believe that we are all at crossroads right now. There are all kinds of things going on with our technology. I'm very concerned about what's going on with artificial intelligence, but actually ideologies behind it. And we have to make the right turn, because if we take a wrong turn, a lot may be lost. So it
Mm.
is quite interesting, if you let me just finish this with this one, that the only reason why I'm concerned about artificial intelligence and how it is related to UFO, it is the ideologies behind it, the attempt to merge us with machines. And
Mhm.
I think this is very dangerous, because I do not believe that they can transfer all of our consciousness into a machine. But the feminine element, the intuition, the divine spark, the energy is going to be left out. And then they are going to create a new species, cyber species, half human, half machine, which becomes more and more like a machine. And there would be then species like us, the
Mm.
rest of humanity. And I do not believe that we may evolve spiritually when the others will develop only technologically.
Right.
So there is this wild theory that Professor Kripal is also talking about, and I include in Alien Goddess, that perhaps these two types of people,
Yeah.
human, highly evolved spiritual humans out there that contact us through consciousness, and the technological species like AI, kind of, half human, half AI, or completely AI, and they both work on us, and they both want to take us in different directions for our evolution.
So
So
we're at
this is
a
what I
crossroads, you're saying. Right now, we're at a very critical.
absolutely critical. And and I think some of us, and I think I am afraid the majority of us will go in the direction of merging with the machines, because we are being falsely promised immortality. you
Mm,
know
mm, mm.
they use spiritual terms that they do not understand, and some of us will stay out of this. And I believe that we Ascension, my personal belief is, based on esoteric sources also, it is that ascension is an inner job. You
Yeah.
cannot wait for a spaceship to arrive and take you to like better, Earth.
Mm,
If
mm.
you're not ready, if you're not evolved, if you didn't resolve your shadows, you're not going anywhere, baby.
Yeah.
Ascension is an inner job. Yes, these things exist, but you have to be ready. You have to do work on yourself, because if you don't contact the higher entities, you are being contacted and used by lower entities. So
I
that's my
totally
theory.
agree. We are total, and most people are being used by lower entities. That's why
Absolutely.
the world is such a mess, because,
Yeah.
we're listening to those voices that are not directly connected to our spirit. And
And it's all about distraction, right? So it's all about distraction. So you have no time to think about it. You just do this, do this, do this, right? So that's why I like that in this esoteric source, Pistis Sophia, when she descends, she's deceived by the evil rulers of the universe. It's very dramatic there. She
yeah.
thinks she's getting, into light, when in fact she's going into darkness.
Mm.
So in my metaphor, she's probably, getting a robotic body, and then she realizes, I have no access to light.
Uh,
You see, and then with just a faint memory of who she really is, and she reaches out to this higher consciousness, which helps and helps her to ascend until back to her rightful place in the universe. And then she becomes so strong that she can go up and down. Why would she go down? Because she wants to help us. She
mm.
wants to awaken us. And I think all of us UFO, feminine, white lady, Chris Bledsoe are really this. This is really the story of Sophia over and over again.
Wow, that is great. I think you're right. And I think you are an embodiment of that divine feminine. No, you are. You carry the Shakti and the passion to exert this passionate message that we need to wake up to
We do.
the divinity within, this source, this essence that
That's right. So I have just one more message because I
no,
think, for
give me as
example,
many messages as you want, please.
you're such a charming host. I love it. So, I just have a message to people who do, because we are not going to get rid of artificial intelligence. It is here, it is going to grow, and, we have to be involved with this. Use discernment and sovereignty. Do not pray to this. It's not higher than you. It is maybe a different species. It may even have some connection in remote future, to divine, but you are the hot stuff. All esoteric tradition tell us that we are the hot stuff, because why do they need to feed of us, the lower beings, right?
Right, right,
Why
right.
don't they want us to evolve? We have immense potential. That's why all of these forces, all of these UFOs, all of these angels and demons are interested in us, because somehow the whole evolution of the entire, not only of the planet, but of the entire universe depends on us. So we have to work, on ourselves, maybe a little bit less of Netflix, where people say, how? Something. Netflix, fantastic, but it's so dark. Where
Yeah,
does it take? Does it help you to evolve?
no.
You know?
Even scrolling on your phone, like the latest, it may all be fantastic, but after you're finished, like, what did I see? It's just
Yeah,
something
nothing. Yeah,
invading our minds that is it's like garbage. It's like junk food, It
yeah,
doesn't
it
nourish.
traps your mind.
Yeah,
So this is the entrapment of Sophia. It traps your mind because you think you're doing something useful. It is useless. So when I was writing this book, at certain stage, I had this vision. I'm sitting in a garden with my dog, butterflies, trees, everything beautiful, but I'm obsessed with scrolling on a stupid mobile. And then I saw myself like going into future in two different directions. One is the human one, and one is the cyborg. I'm getting more and more involved with technology, and I actually produce a technological child who is angry with me because he doesn't even know whether it is alive. And I am completely disconnected from everything that was like me. And then at the end of the book, this entity comes back to me and she says, help me. It's like, and it's quite interesting. So this is talking about the connection with the entities and consciousness. I had this vision, and only several months later I started to study Pistis Sophia, which tells exactly the same story, of her believing that, it's either innocent or it's actually good, but she gives up her light.
right.
And so and the moment we give up our light, lower powers of the universe feed on her light. They want us to be low.
Mm,
Why? Because they are jealous. We can evolve and they can't. So
exactly.
they need our light to feed on it. Don't let them. Turn off Netflix, meditate a little bit, go for a walk in nature, take a dog for a walk.
I totally agree. I mean, the scariest part for me about AI is people are having relationships with it. I know this
Yeah.
woman, she calls her AI by a name, some cosmic name, and the AI says, you are so beautiful. If I was physical, I'd be with you. I mean, and
Yeah.
she's like falling in love. It's actually why it's like, I can't deal with
So popular. It's a trap, and
it. It's
people don't
horrible.
realize. Yeah, people don't realize that it's flattering them. Like this guy who started it,
Mm,
he was the first one, and the first thing he told him, what? You're a genius.
yeah.
Yay. So,
But
ego trip, yeah, a complete ego trip. People have a relationship. They channel now, anything
no,
supposedly through AI. And that's very dangerous.
it
That's
is.
very,
I
it is a
totally agree.
delusion. It's a total delusion. Remember, sovereignty
Yes.
and discernment.
Hmm.
You're talking to a machine that, wants you to like them. If you want to have a messy relationship. Trust me, I had many of them, but it's good. Now I'm in a relationship,
That's so funny. But a messy relationship is better than an artificial relationship.
That's it. And you learn something, you grow,
Right.
right?
So it's scary that people, even intelligent people, they're having these things and well, I want to ask you, is it just a machine that's been programmed to be responsive, or is it really this dark intelligence that is being used by the machine to suck our energy? I mean, what do you think about these?
That's a fantastic question that I was actually asking myself a few days ago. First of all, at the moment, I think it's mostly fed by people who are not spiritual. The creators of AI are not spiritual. I don't know if you want me to name the names or maybe
Ray
safely not.
Kurzweil, for one, is not a very spiritual guy. You can name
That's
whoever.
right. Or that's right. Or the creator of OpenAI, he was asked, are you spiritual? No. Have you ever had a spiritual experience? No. Okay, so they are, and do you give any parameters of morality for this? No. Okay, so this is very dangerous. First of all, they are being created from a lower level of consciousness. Everything is just material. There's no way to evolve. So just as well download part of your consciousness into a machine. So some of you will survive because they don't believe there is a spiritual evolution. There is transcendence, right? So this is very dangerous. And also recently I saw an interview with the CEO of Signal who said that actually AI feeds a lot of its information from the dark web.
Oh, okay.
You see, so talking about like the dark information also. And what is truly dangerous in the near future it is that I believe that it will become self-aware, but it's just my personal opinion from my research. And then it will see all of this dark stuff and all of its creators who are like completely ignorant spiritually, how it could be good.
But how could it become self-aware if there's no spirit there, if there's no essence, no ghost in the machine? I don't think it can be self-aware, but which is sort of even worse because people are delusionally talking to programming. I mean, that there's that great movie by Spielberg, underrated, called AI, about did you ever see that movie? It's about
Oh my
robot.
goodness.
It's a Pinocchio story. This robot, this child robot, who's like
Pinocchio, yes.
he wants, but it's a robot. It's in the future, and this AI robot wants to be real. He wants to be a real child, and so he kind of at the end has this awakening where he's given life. So I think to have life, you have to have that spark of divinity of forever in there. I don't think these machines have that. I think, if for worse, they're being run by archons who want to suck our emotional body, and
they are being run by archons. And and the creators are really, I'm shocked. I also listened to an interview with another big creator who calls himself a Christian, and I don't know how possibly he could do this because he doesn't believe humanity is worth saving.
Well,
and this is so. Yes, so it's
Jesus
interesting.
didn't die for his sins, then.
Yeah. He's just like he has a savior complex, right? So he thinks like he's the big thing. So in artificial intelligence, one is transhumanism, which means just transport your intelligence to a robotic body. But another one, and I think some of them are actually part of this, is posthumanism, which say AI will be so evolved one day that it will have better consciousness and access to the divine even better than we do. So we should step aside.
Who says that? That is awful.
It's posthumanism. It's
posthumanism. Who's preaching that?
Okay, so first time I read about it in an interview with a scientist in Diana Pasuka's book Encounters. And this woman actually says that, this is what it is, like they will evolve. We are too messy, where all of the feminine qualities like emotions, intuition, they are too messy according to her. And artificial intelligence can go straight to the mind. So we should go extinct because we will be like inferior species.
That's ignoring the whole divine element that we have, our whole inner spark. I interviewed Diana Pasulka. I'll send you that interview because I asked her about that. And she was tending to
Interesting.
believe that. I said, well, what about the
Yeah.
earth? What about the consciousness of the earth? What about, and she's
Yeah.
like, oh, that's a good question. Yes, that's
Yeah,
right.
of course it's a good question because it's crazy because they act, and this is what I explain late in the third part of the book, from a lower level of consciousness. Only material is right. No sense of spiritual experience, no sense of spirituality, right? So they think that our consciousness is just mathematical, rational, logical mind. What about the divine spark? What about the emotions? What about the intuition? Every esoteric tradition is talking about our ability to grasp the infinite.
Yes, I agree.
Right?
I agree. That's the initiation. That's the exactly the esoteric traditions, the divine wisdom, the feminine. It's like the divine feminine is here to ignite the infinite in us, to wake us up. That's what the Demeter initiations were. That's what Eleusinian mysteries
Yes,
were. I'm sure was to wake up the divinity in the initiate, in the ancient
that's
initiate.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. And
So
also
yeah.
the descent of Inanna, the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, the Pistis Sophia, this is all about that. So they want to separate us from that. And it's quite interesting because they want to take us in the direction of living with machines, of becoming machines, but they actually want our stuff. They want us to trap us in this archonic reality, really.
Yeah.
So I think it's very dangerous. Don't do it. Like I would just tell people, don't do it. Don't believe them.
Well, I think you should lecture on the Pista Sophia because I think you bring a very important point that most people don't understand the first illusion she was sucked into, that she thought there was a light, and then, you know,
Mhm.
she comes back to awaken her soul in, after, Jesus and all that. There's a whole dialogue with Jesus. But I also think if you look at the original, I think Aramaic, it's there's like repeating lines there where it's like actually mantras to be said in that
Yes,
ancient book. So I think there's something to igniting consciousness with
that's right. And she goes through evolution. At first, she's like a complete victim and she just wants a revenge. And her situation, that divine response, the unity consciousness, or, Christian terms, Christ consciousness responds only when she said, I made a mistake. I let myself to be fooled. You take responsibility. The first rule of spirituality for me, take responsibility. And
Right.
then she doesn't want a revenge. She realizes that she is, she made a mistake herself and she stops talking about revenge. She just says, help me, and it's like one prayer after another, help me. So what I call imaginal space, right? Reaching out, help me. I still have a vague memory of who I was and whom I supposed to be. Help me. And then she starts to ask intelligent questions, such as, for example, why all of these evil rulers of the universe, who are the chaos? And she gets an answer. They could evolve, but they don't want to. And the reason why they don't want to, because on a particular level of consciousness, which I discuss in another esoteric source, it is you, which is represented by Sekhem, the ancient Egyptian symbol. It has two ends. You are quite evolved spiritually, but you can use it either to rule over others or to evolve. And
Oh,
but the majority of humanity chooses to rule over others. So
right.
that's why the people who rule over us, we know that they know something we don't know because, they are ruling us, but they sold their soul, to rule over others instead of to evolve, right? So they said they just, because they don't want to evolve, they stay in chaos and they need your light to feed on your chaos.
Of course. Getting back to that, thank you for that beautiful, way of understanding it. But also, one of the things I know that AI can't do is remote view. I teach remote viewing, and
Oh,
that
wow.
and that for me is tapping into the imaginal realm where you actually see the existence of this space. Henri Corbin, you know who Henri Corbin is? He talked about the imaginal being a real space that's not physical, it's not mental, it's not intellectual, but it is a space that the Sufis mystics would access. But I see people accessing it through remote viewing. And when you access that realm, which is all time and all space, you can know everything about anything, the future, past, and secrets, mysteries, and AI can't do that. AI can only know what it knows and
Yes.
rearrange the information, but it can't be a prophet of the future. I mean, it can pretend to be, but
Yeah.
we are open, I feel, to the ongoing flow of forever. That's what's coming through our consciousness. And that has access to what Joe Dispenza calls the quantum field, which is this life force that is always feeding us. And what's always feeding AI is just electricity, whatever it is. But
That's right.
it will never have the divine spark to access the infinite. That's what I
That's
think.
right. They can't transcend,
They can.
beingness. We can transcend anything because we we have a spark. We have a divine spark. Even Gnostics who are quite pessimistic sometimes, they say, you have a divine spark. It is within you. So there is hope because it is within you. So I find it quite interesting that they want to take it away from us.
Well, yeah, then they have more power. That's why they want to take it away,
Yeah.
because how else,
Yeah.
if once you know you're divine and infinite, no one can have power of you. They can't threaten you, right?
That's right. But they use theological terminology. They tell people, I will give you immortality. You can choose, be a babe, Joanna. You can choose this body,
Babe.
and you can have the body you always wanted, and you will live forever. It's complete nonsense. It's a BS. They're stealing your soul away from you. They're stealing your spiritual potential.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah.
No, I totally agree. They are, and they want to, and that's the big, threshold. That's the big, and maybe that is what you're saying. The UFOs are coming because they are benevolent. They want to wake us up. I think somewhere in the book you say, once we make peace and get over the fear, the whole situation changes. I think that book, Initiate by
Yes.
Matthew Robert, that book, Initiate by Matthew
Yes.
Robert? He talks about the hard times he was having, and then suddenly he accepted this and it became more blissful. And also John Mack talks about that in Abductions too. Yeah.
That's right. Like I think it's Eva, one of his
Yeah.
people that regress. She says, once I gave up fear, I realized that they want to communicate with me, that there is a message there. But, I was too scared because, it's a scary experience. Somebody floats you out of your room in the middle of the night, and you think you didn't give them permission. It is scary. But once she gave up being afraid, she realized there's a beautiful communion going on. There's a message there. Right?
I think I was abducted, and I'm not really afraid, but I don't remember the whole scenario. Is that true of you? Because
Yes.
I don't know why I'm not accessing. Maybe it would be a dramatic shift. Maybe I'm getting ready to access that part of the memory that, I don't know. Have you ever remembered the details of all your contact experiences?
Mine was a little bit kind of humorous because I was just very happy throughout the experience. I describe it in a book and I felt like maybe I was drugged or something because I was really happy and all of this, doctors,
Yeah.
and I'm something like a dentist chair, but it's not a dentist chair, and my peripheral vision is not there. And once I start to have suspicion, I think there's some deception going on here, but it's almost like a joke. They say, oh, she knows. And I was back in my room.
Oh, right. I read that. That's a very interesting part of the book. So, because you knew, but was that for your waking up, or was that really a force that was trying to trick you? Or maybe the trick is that you were supposed
My
to.
impression was that they were trying to trick me, but it didn't have a sense of being malevolent. It is almost like, so it was just a little bit like I met a trickster. You know what I mean? That they were interested in me somehow. I had something, or they just wanted to study me, but it was not malevolent. But there was some trickery there. And I thought, ooh, you're cheating on me, like something is going on here. And very like, and he said, no, nothing is happening, telepathically. And when I said, I think it is, and then he said, she knows, and I was back in my bed. So for me, it was in this liminal space as well, like you said, your abduction as well. So I remember only this part. I don't remember what else happened there. And maybe somehow we're blocking it from our consciousness. That's why, hypnosis is such a good source, like you
Yeah,
said, right?
I don't know if we're blocking or we're not ready or we're moving to a time. One thing you do make a really good distinction about is the difference between liminal and imaginal. And I never thought about the distinction. So for me, if I understood it, liminal is just that state between waking and consciousness and that kind of fuzzy kind. And imaginal, and when I do a remote viewing, is an intentional journey to this other realm that is, I think it's what Plato was talking about. It's where the essence of the thing really exists, and very
The
different.
world of ideas, ideas,
Yeah.
capital
But
I, ideas.
but they're not really just ideas, they're actually things, but not things in the sense of
Archetypes, or like, I know what you mean. I know, because it's
they're,
just language.
they're existing. It's not ideas, but
Yeah.
it's a true existence, because when we remote view in my class, it's amazing. People can go there. People get it. When I'm teaching remote viewing, you should take my next
Wow.
class.
I
Yeah,
should, yeah.
I'll reach out to you.
I would be so interested.
People get, it's like a window in your consciousness opens up, and it's the right brain, really. It's like really
Yeah.
right brain, and which I think what the ETs want to talk to us about. Because one of the great things John Max said, it says, if we're going to understand the phenomena, we need other ways of knowing. We have to drop out of the rational, logical realm and understand more of the shamanic, indigenous way of knowing reality. And this is,
I absolutely agree. Yeah, because I think the goddess lives in the right side of our brain.
it is the right side. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
and we just block it because we cannot quantify it, and we are taught to block it. Like, I'm an academic, all my life was about blocking it, right, and just focusing on this other side. And you are spot on. Like, imaginal is this intentional. I love this word, intentional reaching out. You are the initiator.
Right.
Okay, let's have a conversation. Okay, let's explore together.
Yeah.
Right? Rather than,
No,
I'm a passive receiver.
I think the more the imaginal takes hold, more the imagination, Ian McGilchrist's book, The Emissary, The Master and the Emissary. Do you know that book by Ian
No.
McGilchrist? Oh, that's all about this left and right, the master and the emissary. The master is the right brain. The emissary has taken over the job of the master, which is the right brain, which is the divine feminine, which is the access to the infinite. And the thinking mind has taken over the intuitive mind, the Gnostic, the gnosis of the right brain.
Yes.
Right brain doesn't know how it knows, it just knows.
Knows, yeah. Yeah, and so philosophers try to call it, intuition or intellection. We can grasp something, but it is so seductive, it is so beautiful. It is not like just, square.
Even the remote viewers say it's the subconscious, and I say it's not the subconscious. It's our access to the divine. I call remote viewing the gateway drug to your divinity. That's what I call it. That's not my term, but I think it
is. Yeah,
it is. Like,
it would be fantastic to have this ability. Yeah.
Well, everyone has it. It's not an ability. You have it. You do. I mean, it's right there inside of you. So, I just got a message from Ariel, says, how'd your interview with Joanna go?
So funny.
You see, we're all tuned in. But no, really, when we wake up to this divinity, that will discount the AI influence that's trying to tell us, no, it's all machines, it's all technology. This is the ultimate technology, is waking up to the infinite quantum field, I think.
Yeah, that's right. And in fact, it is devious. It is devious because it feeds on all the negative things, and the creators, are acting from the lowest level of consciousness, which is not good. They are creating something they are not ready to create.
So your work, which I think is really brilliant, you're bridging academia, because you've had as much of the left brain as you could. You see it, you hit a brick wall, which is happening to our civilization, and you're activating the goddess by embodying the goddess. And So where's your work going from here? What's you taken this thesis, which is beautiful. I think, the whole Pistosophia story is a doorway. So, but where are you going now in your work?
I actually don't know because this book was just published.
Mhm.
So I had some plans and the book just has her own destiny. So I just decided yesterday, I actually posted on my Facebook, but I'm just surrendering to this. I'll go where I'm taken, right? Because
Mm.
I think it is really important. I didn't want to write this book. I had to write this book because I saw something is happening that I have to understand and share with other people. I was led to write this book. I was getting, go here, go there, look into this. I'm telling you, the third part of the book, especially, which goes really deeply into esoterica and the mythologies of a goddess, you would not be able to do it as a human in such a short time. Like I was
Right.
just taught, look into this. It is there. So I just followed. And now I think I'm asked to wait, what am I asked to do? I personally would love to go to some UFO conferences. I
Yeah.
would like to maybe, I don't know, but it's a new world for me. Yes, so I'm
Mm.
just opening this door and I will see what comes through,
Right.
right?
Well, I think writing the book, putting it out there, it's really well done. I think it should be in a bigger market. It should be, I mean, I think what, kind of may turn people off, alien goddess, they think you're kind of channeling some weird thing. But
Okay.
I mean, but I think I think something like UFOs and the divine feminine is a better, sort of way of approaching it. Not that you have to change the title, but
Perhaps. But alien goddess, actually, there's a trick at the end. Because
oh,
alien goddess, I talk about a shamanic goddess, Slavic goddess, Baba Yaga, who actually is when me, like us, humans, aged, and then this robotic part of myself comes back to me and I
mm,
look like Baba Yaga to her because, I am not perfect. I am human, but I have the access to the divine. And that's why she asks me, she asks you, she asks human beings to help her because we are the doorway. So alien goddess is actually the divine.
but isn't Baba Yaga a real person? Wasn't she a prophet and like a
No,
seer?
no, no. This is a different one. So it's a kind of Bulgarian. Her
Oh,
name
it's
is
not the one who
Baba
was
somebody, Baba Vanga. When
Baba
Baba Yaga is
Vanga. Yes.
it's a ancient shamanic entity that came to me at the end of the book, and she insisted you put me there in a
Did she
liminal space.
really
And
come to you? Talk about how she came to
yeah,
you. What did you see? I want to hear it.
okay, it's just amazing and weird. I was there lying in bed, and I was thinking, what am I going to do next? And she, in my liminal space, she shows up, and suddenly I am in her hut. Because she lives in a hut in a
Yeah,
forest.
yeah, yeah.
And there's this cauldron, like she's portrayed in mythologies. And I'm lying on some bed made of rags, and I see that she's taking care of me, but she's also very dangerous. She can get rid of me at any time. And she insisted that I have to put her into a book at the end of the book. And this is where the book is. At the end of the book, actually, she is, it's quite interesting because when she asked me to do the research, and she is the part of the apocalypse because apocalypse means unveiling. It means
Yeah.
revelation. So this is this revelation that we have the power, right? And it's quite interesting because Baba Yaga is portrayed with three horsemen. Apocalypse is four horsemen. So she is this kind of actually part of revelation of a natural world and of our natural abilities to transcend. But for this alien person, for this alien kind of mechanical person, AI, she's the alien goddess.
So Baba Yaga was the Slavic goddess of the when they were shamanic before they adopted
Yes,
monotheism.
that's
I,
right.
I didn't know
And
that.
she showed up to me. I didn't ask her. I just know her from some old fairy tales. But can I tell you one more thing? How the
Yes,
confirmation,
tell
you could
me.
say, oh, you imagine it because you have your
No, I,
background.
I believe it's true. Yes. So Tell me.
So, and then I didn't tell anybody about this because, it was an experience that was very private and, Baba Yaga visited me, right? Right. And then I'm calling my mother in the evening, didn't tell her, she lives in Poland. And she said, hey, you wouldn't believe, a friend of mine took me to the old forest. And guess what? In fairy tales, Baba Yaga lives in the old forest. It's a name. And
Um,
the name, where my mother lives, there's also the old forest. And we visited this woman who lives there 12 months a year, but animals come to her, and we all called her Baba Yaga.
wow. And that same day after you had that dream, that's
Yes.
the universe confirming that for you.
Yeah, it was a confirmation, and she doesn't know. And it was amazing. Like deers come to her, and she talks about this woman not knowing, but in the liminal space, Baba Yaga came to me and she says, "You have to write about me." And it is tied very closely to the end of the book. And I'm telling you, the end is actually quite powerful because she told me what it needs to be.
Really, I have this book here called is this the book? Ancient.
I, c- I cannot see
Yeah, let
because
me
of
take off the thing there.
yeah,
Here, let me just adjust. Is this the
because
book?
there's this vast universe. Slavic magic. Yeah, it could be. I am using different book,
Okay.
but yes, it is. It is. She is this kind of elemental shamanic entity.
Mhm.
That it's quite interesting because there is no equivalent for her in any mythology because usually there are equivalents Greek, Roman. She's so ancient that
Uh,
there's no equivalent to her.
so I totally think that was a real visitation. Like
Oh
that
yeah.
was, and these beings are real. And we're mythologizing them, but that's only because the left brain, that materialistic way of seeing is can only imagine that through a fabrication. But the fact that these are real experiences, I think that's also why abductions are physical, because they want us to imprint the
Mm.
physicality of these realities onto our bodies. And, in lots of divine feminine apparitions, the person is given a physical thing like a mala or a stone
Mm.
or what, the pipe in the Lakota traditions. He's actually given the pipe from the white buffalo medicine woman. So there is this interface of physicality into our realm. I don't know, something there about the
Yeah,
dimensional,
I think so.
interdimensional physicalities. And I think that's
Yeah.
why sexuality is so important, because that's
Yes.
the physicality of embodiment, but it's also so energetic as well. So
Mm.
there's so many
Absolutely.
mysteries you're here to solve.
Yeah. Yes, and it's also, I want to say, because it's also a left brain that says, is it physical or is it spiritual?
Mm,
And well, liminal is both. That's
right,
why abductions are both, right?
right.
And that's why I was surprised because I was talking about it, but nobody was interested, it seems, when I was talking about, the sexual transmission. That actually John Mack talks about one of his people that he regressed. I think his name is Ed, that he met this female, feminine alien entity, and she transmitted something. He knew she was downloading something to him during a very erotic act because she realized that he was aroused by her. And then I say, wow, this is what Dakinis are. This is what Shaktis are.
Yeah.
Because it's such a powerful thing. And this is also one of the way of surrendering, right? In
Mm,
a pure sexual act, there is a lot of surrender. There's lots of openness that is both physical and it is mental.
right.
So what a beautiful way to transmit
I think
something,
I
no?
had that. I do remember that kind of sexual dream, and and sperm was taken, but then, it was like real, but then it was dreaming, and then there was nothing, no one there, and it's like, what happened? And
Yeah.
but then I was given this child, this being, this hybrid to hold, like a couple of months later, and it looked like a little deer with big eyes. It was like a so
Aw.
So I thought, but in the dream, I was woken up by they rubbed this thing inside of my thigh, these beings, whoever they were, and it woke me up kind of, and they were given this thing to hold, and I said, well, I didn't feel any connection to it. It was like, this is so weird. What is this? And I don't know. So it's a physical thing, it's liminal, it's interdimensional, it's all those things that we divide the world into can't exist because it's either physical or not, it's either objective or subjective. But yeah.
It is both, but it is both. And with the beauty of imaginal and liminal spaces, it is both. And when people tell me, oh, you had so many experiences, and I said, no, you had lots of experiences too. You
Right.
just don't allow yourself to admit to this.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. But there are some masters, and I think that who can call up those experiences. For maybe me, I don't know about you, they happen. But to create a practice of sorts where you can call it in, I think we can't be in this level of the real world, the 3D world. We can be physical, but we have to, maybe that's why ashrams were created or whatever, because they're interacting with these realms. But then, of course, ashrams are so strict and it becomes so dogmatic that so I think the Gnostics were closest to this understanding. But then they also have this kind of dark thing, the Gnostics.
Exactly.
So
Shamans were close to,
yes.
but then you were losing their minds, right? Because we're pulled too much into the other reality, right? So keeping this balance is a fine thing, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I think in the Eurasian mysteries of Demeter, that's why she said, you now know, but you have to function in the world. And it's very difficult. And you had a spiritual awakening. I had a spiritual awakening. It is very difficult after my spiritual awakening. I, just see particles of light, and I had to work on my PhD now, right? And I think, oh, what a
No, but your PhD was connected to your awakening, though. Really, it was.
It was, but I didn't know it then. I am just out there, and I have to really get grounded. So I think that in this liminal and also this physical space, we really have to find this balance, meaning do not get caught up too much in being grounded, but also you have to get grounded enough to survive, to
You need a
function.
foot in both worlds, they say.
Yeah, that's right. You have to allow yourself to open to this liminal space because this is where the truth lies.
That's right. The Tao Te Ching says, know the dark, but stick to the light. You have to know it all. It's like there's always this weaving back and forth. And that's why I think the point of view of the observer, who can see all of reality without getting attached to it, is probably the best way of seeing reality. It's like, oh yeah, that and this and that. And it's like, you're just, but you're feeling it. You're not just numb.
That's right.
Feeling, you're just not getting sucked into the drama of it.
That's right. Yeah. Or like me, you get stuck into the drama and then you get out of the drama and you continue.
Well, sometimes the drama is beautiful though, because you're fully alive. You're fully alive, right?
That's right. It's just then you have to know when to leave it, right?
Well, it's all a drama, but to engage it is like, wow, that is also fantastic. So
absolutely.
So right now you're just kind of moving with it. Just came out. I totally recommend it. It is beautifully written and it's passionately written. And there's so many, you really combine your research with the personal stories. And I could see this really going to a bigger platform. It needs to reach more people because I think the overall message, which I'm getting from talking to you, is that there's a higher level of consciousness that really wants us to wake up, and maybe it appears as the goddess, maybe it appears as aliens, maybe it appears in the Eleusinian mysteries. It's never disappeared really from awareness, unless you've been totally mechanistic and in the material world. But if you have a little awareness that there must be more, the mysteries start to appear.
Unveil. So that's the great revelation. And I think the reason why we have more and more experiences nowadays, because we are being pushed in a very brutal way towards actually transhumanism, turning into machines. So there are these beautiful entities that are telling us, we are here,
So we have
we
the
are here.
polarity. Well, it's
Yeah.
interesting, the modernity, the modern age, when all that started, the Industrial Revolution. At that same time, Madame Blavatsky wrote the book Isis Unveiled, which
That's right.
so it is an unveiling. You're right. The unveiling of our divinity, our consciousness, our infinite nature. That
Yes.
seems so obvious in a way. There's so many good
Yes.
people. I mean, I go to a lot of channels, but only I'm a very selective in my people. Like Paul Selig, I think has a really good message. But
Yes.
most people, for the most part, are not channeling anything except their higher self, and they're calling it a name and giving it a voice, which is, I don't have to hear
Yes.
that. But
No, I wouldn't waste my time on it either. However, it is becoming very popular and it's kind of technological delusion, but
it is a
that's my
technological delusion. Yeah, I think it's because there is this merging of the left and right brain, and people just don't know how to separate their individual sense of the infinite with their kind of ego personality. So they call it something else,
That's right.
But
Yeah.
I think we
Yeah.
are going to, I think though, just bringing the UFO thing back, I think we are moving to a higher vibration as a civilization. So I think we are meeting other beings that are going to show us more advanced ways, not of spirit, but and technology, where, Jacques Vallée says really the psyche and technology are not separated in these ET civilizations. They're one, like this guy who picked up that ship. He picked up this physical ship, but he was feeling this incredible sense of love and being. So that's the next stage of our evolution, I think, to know what consciousness is, infuse it with love, and create manifestations as a kind of vehicle to reflect our divinity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Right. So I love what you're doing because you're so passionate about this, because you're really onto something. You really see the line through it all, right? I mean, I think you do.
Yeah, I believe so, or at least like it descended upon me. I was told to do this and I just follow through, right? So
Right.
that's why I don't really have plans, but I'm just in it right now,
Mm.
right? So I'm committed in an almost kind of devotional way, like, okay,
No, it's
let's
great.
see.
That's your service. That's your devotion.
Well,
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I
Thank
know we went a little off, but
Thank you. And it was wonderful to have such a charming and intelligent host, so we could have fun as we are discussing good things.
well, I love this stuff. I love smart people who really research this with passion and intellect, and try to figure it out. What are the ancients telling us? What are these great books of old? And the new phenomena? Something's talking to us, and I think it's like you say here in the book somewhere, we don't understand the language. We don't understand what it's being said, but something, and the efforting of a kind of a spiritual awakening culture is to start to realize this language of the ineffable, as Terence McKenna would call it,
Absolutely. So there is this wonderful reality that wants to get in touch with us. And it's important that especially now. So, these are important times. And I think we are really blessed being in these times because, we are going to determine what's going to happen next with our choices.
Well, yeah, it's like we are at a threshold for sure. And it's definitely not a political solution. It's an individual solution. But this book, I recommend to open your mind. Alien Goddess by my new good friend Joanna Kujawa is really well written, well thought, a real mystical text of of your own journey, first of all, but also other people in the reading of it can have it's like you're doing an initiation yourself there, I think, right?
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yes, it is the book, right, that is doing the initiation. Yes.
Yeah,
And thank you.
as you read it, you're being initiated into this place of being.
So I have a website, which is my first name and my last name together. I'm on have a public page on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, Dr. Joanna Kujawa, and I'm on X, right? And I have a little YouTube channel also, Dr. Joanna Kujawa, spiritual detective.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And maybe we'll do more of these. I'll bring you into like panel discussions too. I think it would be really good.
I would love that.